All right, joining us, Michigan State Senator Jeremy Moss. He is the only Jewish state senator, and he is president pro tem of the state Senate. He represents the neighboring district. Thank you very much for joining us. What can you tell us about the events of today?
Yeah, I mean, it's been permeating throughout the community. This was an attack on a building, but this is the heart of the Jewish community in Metro Detroit. There are so many synagogues in and around West Bloomfield. Our Jewish Federation building is in my district in Bloomfield. There are Jewish schools throughout the area. So it's an attack on a building, and thank God nobody inside was hurt, but it permeates terror throughout the rest of our community. And we're already grappling with this untenable rise in anti-Semitism, which is causing enough agony and anguish in the community. But to have an incident like this, it spreads fear and anguish throughout the rest of the community, which I think everybody here is feeling today.
How is the local government going to be reacting to this?
We've tried our best to give all of these institutions the resources to prepare for a horrific moment like this. In the state legislature, and I know you've had some of my colleagues on earlier, we've allocated tens of millions of dollars specifically to Jewish security. The sad reality is that this is needed. The sad reality is that over the last decade or so, with radicalization both on the right and the left, Jewish institutions and Jewish people have been targets and scapegoats for all these anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. So we have delivered resources from the state level to create security infrastructures. I mean, I'm looking at the scenes here. I actually was driving through it earlier. I lost count of how many police cars from different agencies were zooming past me to respond to the scene, because they're all communicating with one another, because we have provided the Jewish Federation with the infrastructure to have a rapid security response. And God forbid an incident like this should happen. And today, sadly, it did.
Is there anything more that you could possibly do to harden these institutions, to give more security to these institutions? Or are we now operating in a space where the precautions have been taken and we have to just, I guess, hope for the best if something does happen, for the best response, or to stop something before it happens?
I mean, there's a few ways to answer that question. I go to a different synagogue in West Bloomfield, and I was on the board of our synagogue during the Tree of Life shooting several years ago in Pittsburgh. And we had to have tough conversations. We know we have to protect our congregants, but we also want to be a welcoming and opening synagogue. Nobody wants to pray in a fortress. And so the Jewish community is already grappling through these questions of how do we maintain our security, but how do we maintain our freedom to worship freely in this country? So it's an ever-going, ongoing conversation that I hope we can get to some sort of solution. But you're leaving an open-ended question. What would the solution be? If anti-Semitism was so easy to snuff out, we would have snuffed it out by now. So it's going to take all of us together to speak out, to recognize it, and to call it out, especially from people with outside of the Jewish community. There aren't that many of us, not just here in Michigan, but around the country. And I saw this the conversation earlier talking about social media and conspiracy theories and them taking off so quickly. There are 15 million Jews in the world. And if a TikTok video spreading anti-Semitic conspiracy gets 16 million views, there aren't enough Jews alive today to be able to rebut that in real time. So this is a moment of crisis within the Jewish community that depends on everyone else to join us in calling it out and standing up to this type of hatred. We can't do it on our own. So there's no single funding or single security solution. It's all of the rest of us that have to stand up and speak out and call it out in order for it to tamper down.
I think it's a crisis beyond the Jewish community. It's a crisis of the American community, of the world community. I mean, what you just said there, that there are more people often retweeting anti-Semitic content or reposting it than there are Jews in the world. So have you felt like you've had support in trying to have that conversation about how to address the root of it? Are you meeting pushback either in the state Senate or within your community?
So, as it was mentioned, I'm the only Jewish member of the Michigan Senate, and I have spoken out plainly and clearly. I'm a Democrat. I'm in Senate leadership. I'm the president pro tem. But we have to be willing to call out anti-Semitism wherever it exists. I was just as forceful as calling out right-wing anti-Semitism in Charlottesville as I have been in calling out anti-Semitism on the left, as it's kind of been bred throughout this crisis in the Middle East. And we've seen attacks here at home. We've seen our Jewish Federation building was vandalized on the anniversary of October 7th. One of my friends, Jordan Acker, is on the University of Michigan board. He has been targeted by activists from U of M at his home, at his place of work. And so this anti-Semitism is on both extremes. And so as Democrats, we also have to be willing to take on those within our own political coalition to be able to snuff it out. So yeah, this is a huge problem, and I'll tell you, this is what my grandparents lived through. This is what my parents lived through to a degree, but this is not what I grew up with. We kind of lived in a calmer, more harmonious, and more integrated society where anti-Semitism was not in your face when I was growing up. It was in textbooks. It was in family stories. It was in black and white film reels. Well, I'm watching the video from Temple, Israel today, up the road from me in real color. This is now here, and we have to really a huge question before us, not just as Jews, not just as Michiganders, but as all Americans. What are we going to do about it? We cannot tolerate all of these continuing scenes playing out, whether it's the smoke coming out of this synagogue in West Bloomfield, Michigan, whether it's protesters, or pardon me, whether it's peaceful activists in Boulder, Colorado, who were lit on fire last year, whether it's young Israel embassy staffers who were shot just for going to a Jewish museum. Jews should be able to exist freely in our society, express our religious freedom, be able to go to a synagogue, be able to go to a school, but also be able to go to the mall, to the movie theater, to a restaurant, and not face and be subjected to harassment. So all of us on all sides of the political spectrum have to recognize this is a five-alarm fire, and then figure out what are we going to do to solve it.
I'm happy you brought up the two Israeli embassy staffers who were at a Jewish event. They were not coming out of the Israeli embassy, so the shooter did not see them as Israeli embassy staffers. He saw them as two people coming out of a Jewish institution. There's a real difference there, and I'm not sure that it fully got appreciated all the time in coverage across the spectrum, but I think it's important to point out again today. And I think your point about the way that you and I grew up, were roughly the same age, and it not being anti-Semitism, not being in our face or in the community's face all the time. I mean, it was only about 10 years ago when if there was a Holocaust denier, that person would be shunned or laughed at, mocked. Now Holocaust deniers have large platforms, or they're given even larger platforms to voice that denialism and to voice that anti-Semitism and hatred. It is a different world we're living in. And as you said, a scary one, five-alarm fire. State Senator Jeremy Moss, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us.